What's up, my Wizards Dev? SBMTG down there, and today is probably the hypinest day of Eldritch Moon spoilers that we've gotten so far. Yeah, we saw the Meld Mechanic, we saw Giselle and Bruno, all that stuff, but today I think might be the day that we got the highest number of purely, fairly good freaking cards. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First, let's look at the cards that were spoiled late last night, like super late last night at 3 o'clock in the morning my time. I think both of these actually have some standard implications. So first, let's look at Stromkirk Condemned right here. He's 2 black for a 2/2 vampire horror, and you can discard a card to have vampires you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, and you can only do that once each turn. Well, here it is. Everybody says this is what they wanted. The thing that might is the key word, make the vampire deck really truly credible in standard Magic. We might actually see it compete now that it's gotten a piece like this. Free Madness Outlet, it only costs 2 mana, it's good on curve, you know, 2 mana 2/2 is always decent at least. You can only do it once per turn, that kind of sucks, but you can do it on your opponent's turn, so combat tricks are possible. I do think we need to see a piece or 2 more, but I do think that this goes an awful long way into making that deck really, actually real. So there's that. Let me know how you feel about that one in the comments section. Does it make the vampire deck a real deck, or does the deck still need a piece or 2? Interested in how you feel about that. But I'm going to move on to the next card that was spoiled super late last night. This is Harmless Offering right here. It is 2 and a red for a sorcery with target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. The Pact Hack right here. Everyone's talking about Demonic Pact with this card, and yeah, I'm going to try it. You're going to try it. We're all going to try it and see exactly what happens. I think it might really be a thing, but we'll have to wait and see, you know. I'm not totally sure, but that is the one thing that jumps to everyone's mind in standard Magic when they see this card. And yeah, it's donate. It's basically donate, you know. It's not quite donate, but it's basically donate, functionally. So, you know, I'm glad that they brought that back. We'll have to see what else we can do in standard with this. There's probably some things we can do in modern with this, you know. I'm sure that people are hard at work trying to break this thing right now. And thanks, Wizards. I mean, you gave us the card that works really, really well with Demonic Pact like 2 months before Demonic Pact rotates out. Also, best art in the set so far as I'm concerned. Love the art on this. But let's move on to the first card that was spoiled today, at least. This is the stupid boar. This is Decimator of Provinces. Such a metal name. It's just 10 generic mana for an Eldrazi boar, and it's got Emerge 6 and 3 green. That's 9 mana. It's a 7/7 with haste and trample, and when you cast it, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. Pretty good. You know, I don't have too much more to say about it. I just feel like it's probably decent with that Emerge. If Emerge wasn't on it, it would be like totally bad because we have Ulamog. Like, if you're going to play things for 10 mana, you're going to play Ulamog. But this, on the other hand, could cost you really not that much. I mean, you sack like a 4 mana guy or something, and he only costs, you know, 5. So that could be better. I'm trying to justify it because I think that the card is probably going to be standard playable, but I feel like it's really on the verge. I don't know if this is going to be the most powerful thing ever, but I do think it's on the verge and fantastic in sealed. Like, really, really good in sealed play to just end the game almost immediately. You know, I love that it's got haste. That actually, I think, goes a long way on a card like this, especially since you can just sacrifice something, put it into play, surprise the hell out of them, and just swing for a huge amount with all your dudes. I love the overrun effect on it, even in standard. You know, so there's things that I like about it. If we were going to play Stompy in standard, this would probably be at the very high end of our curve. You know, we would always emerge it into play in that case. So I've been thinking about the card a lot. I'm just not really sure I like it as much as some people like it. And it could see standard play. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not really seeing it like right now. Best thing about this, as far as I'm concerned, or one of the best things, is that even if they do counter your boar or something, then you still get the overrun effect on your entire team. You get +2/+2 and trample on all your guys, and you say, hey, I don't get my big pig, but everybody else on my team, you can be a big pig too. Let's move on to the next one, though. This is the Professor's spoiler card for this season, and it's not actually bad. This is Wharf Infiltrator right here. It's a generic mana and a blue, that's 2 mana, for a 1/1 human horror with Skulk. And whenever Wharf Infiltrator deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. And here's the cool part. Whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 generic mana. If you do, put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield. Okay, so a looter that when you loot creatures, you get to put a creature into play. Like, that's really good, I think. I mean, and it's got a little bit of unblockability, you know, Skulk is not terrible. And the way we're playing Standard right now, the only thing that's going to block this is tokens. But there are a lot of tokens right now, so keep that in mind. I don't know that it's always going to go unblocked or anything, but it does look fairly freaking powerful because you'll probably be able to get 1 or 2, 3 twos out of it over the course of the game. It makes creatures bigger than it. And it loots, allowing you to draw cards and discard cards, which is either good, you know, you could always discard creatures to its ability, yes, but you could always, you know, discard things for madness too. I mean, there's just lots of stuff that you could do with this. Like, imagine discarding a creature that has madness, putting that creature onto the battlefield, and getting a 3/2. Like, all of that is so awesome. So, and by the way, in that scenario, you've also drawn a card. So the card looks pretty darn good. Time will tell if it really is as good as it looks, but I'm a big fan of looters, so I'm pretty freaking excited about this thing. We'll just see if it works. Here's another card that I'm pretty excited about right here. This is Geyer Reach Sanitarium, and it's just a land that produces colorless mana when you tap it, or you can pay 2 generic mana and tap it to have each player draw a card and then discard a card. First of all, I love that it's a sanitarium. Like, I love that we get to play like a mental asylum. Like, wait, that's really, really cool. I love the flavor text, you know? But aside from all the flavor of the card, it's actually incredibly good functionally. I've always loved lands like this. You know, it's basically a loot land, you know, and it's only 2 mana to activate. That's also very good. It allows you to do madness stuff. It allows you to loot. It allows you to draw cards. Like, just so many good things about this thing. You know, allows you to play Eldrazi a little bit more easily, and, you know, effects of Eldrazi more easily. So this card isn't an automatic 4 of in a bunch of decks or anything, but I do think it'll definitely see actual Standard play. The thing could see Modern play. The thing could actually see Legacy play, to be honest with you. I mean, it is very, very good. It'll obviously see Commander play too, so I just feel like the card is relevant in most formats. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do think it'll definitely see Standard play, and it's an EDH staple. Move on to the next. This card right here has everybody talking about combo potential. Everybody in the world. Seriously, people that don't play Magic are like, did you hear about Eldritch Revolution? This is Eldritch Revolution. This is 1 and 2 green. That's 3 mana for a sorcery. And as an additional cost to play it, you sacrifice a creature. Now you search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, and you exile Eldritch Evolution. The exile is very important. Let me just say that. If you didn't have to exile the stupid thing, there would be crazy stupid tricks with this. But let's just talk about the card's functionality. What I have heard, and Wedge talked about this, and I've heard it on a couple of spoiler sites, people on Mythic Spoiler said it. You can just play any mana dork turn 1, and then turn 2, you play this, and you go get a Magus of the Moon. You just lock out decks forever. So that seems pretty good right there. It seems super cheese. But there's other stuff you can do with this. Obviously in Standard we're going to have a field day finding either combos with this or just playing it for value, because it's value, right? You know, turn 3, you could always play this on your 2-drop and go get a 4-drop on turn 3. It's always going to be like a turn higher than what you can currently play. That's basically ramp right there. And also it's going to let you, sacrifice slightly big creatures for way bigger creatures. That's not bad either. So I like a lot about this card. I think that it's probably going to see some Eternal format play, almost assuredly. And there's a tutor effect on it, so it's going to see Commander play. I mean, there's 2 cards in a row that may see play in literally every single format. So we're seeing some really good stuff out of this set today, and a lot of people were kind of like, meh, this set. But I hope that after today, some people are like, yeah, this set, because we've seen at least a couple of things that are going to have a lot of relevance in nearly every format. So I'm pretty freaking happy this card exists, and we'll just have to wait and see how busted it actually gets. If you got any ideas, let me know down in the comments. Speaking again of cards that have relevance in Eternal formats, this right here is Eternal Scourge, and Jeebus Creebus, this card's crazy. 3 generic mana for an Eldrazi Horror. It's a 3/3, and you may cast it from exile. Now, when Eternal Scourge becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you exile it. First of all, gotta get this out of the way because everyone's saying it. Food chain. It's just copies 5 through 8 of Mist Hollow Griffin, So I think the card is very, very good in that one particular deck. And also decent in Standard, In Standard we got a lot of things like Declaration in Stone, Stasis Snare, Silk Wrap, Anguished Unmaking, things that exile creatures, a lot of removal does that. So this is resistant to all of that, and it's resistant to removal, period. If they want to Ruinous Path it, then you totally exile this, the Ruinous Path fizzles, and then you get to play this again from exile. So just, there's a lot of good stuff about this card, and it's nearly impossible to get rid of forever. And creatures like that, usually good, and any deck can play the stupid thing. So is it just going to be, you know, one of those situations where every single deck has 4 of these? I don't know about that. I'm really not sure. But Collected Company can play this pretty easily. Will it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, you know. Any aggro deck can play this, and it's decent. 3 mana for a 3/3 is always good. Will they play it? I don't know. It's just not really sure. The card is obviously incredibly powerful. I mean, you read the card, and you can tell, like, this card is good. But what does it slot into in Standard? I'm not 100% go. And this is where the comment section tells me I'm missing something incredibly obvious in Standard. What is it, though? Let me know. But this next one may be the card that I'm most excited about all day. Seriously, there's a lot of really good cards if you haven't noticed. This, though, is Lupine Prototype. This is just 2 generic mana right here for a 5/5 wolf construct. Pretty awesome. And it has Lupine Prototype can attack or block unless a player has no cards in hand. Racks on racks on racks. This card could really do some work in Modern 8 Rack, obviously. If they want it, I mean, just a deck that wants to rip all the cards out of their opponent's hand, this could probably put this to use. Any deck, you know. But do note that it's when any player has no cards in their hand. So this could ironically be one of the best creatures in Standard, you know, vampires. You know, a wolf could be one of the best creatures in Standard vampires. Just everything about the card's awesome. 2 generic mana 5/5 that any deck can play. You know, that's good. I can even see just regular aggro decks that aren't Madness based maybe playing this card, you know, because they're going to run out of cards in their hand by the 5th turn a lot of the time. So that's, all of it's good. Just this card looks fantastic to me. And I know that you don't want to spend your turn 2 doing literally nothing. You know, if this card's not online on turn 2 when you play it, then you've basically let your opponent time walk you and you haven't done anything. That's a problem, yes, and I will acknowledge that. But at the same time, I just feel like the potential benefits outweigh any of the disadvantages with a card like this. Any deck can play it. Everything's awesome. And it's super metal. This card is a Mechawolf. This card is a Mechawolf. It's a wolf wearing an amp suit. Like, everything about the flavor of this card is amazing. So just super, definitely a hit as far as I'm concerned. Love the card and cannot wait to see what people do with it. The next card we're going to talk about, though, is a reprint. We don't see too many of those nowadays, and it's a pretty good reprint right here. This is Murder, and I'm not even going to go to the graphic. This is Murder. Beautifully simplistic card right here. Just a generic and 2 black for an instant speed, destroy target creature. Just eloquent in its simplicity it is. Are we going to play this card? This is my question. It's obviously good and limited, blah, blah, blah. Are we going to play this card in Standard while we have Ruinous Path? I know Ruinous Path is a sorcery, but Ruinous Path has Awaken, it takes out Planeswalkers, which are really important right now. So will we play this in Standard alongside Ruinous Path? Maybe 2 Murder, 2 Ruinous Path, and control decks. I mean, a lot of questions as far as I'm concerned about whether or not we really do end up playing this card in Standard. I'm not sure. Just a fine piece, and it probably signals in a way that this will be the replacement for Ruinous Path when it rotates, but that won't be for another, what, 8 months, something like that. So we've got Ruinous Path for a while, but we probably won't get too many good replacements for it. I think this is a signal that this is going to replace it once it rotates. It's a great removal spell, and I'm glad it's back. And the art's pretty good, too. Here's another card I'm excited about. Really actually excited. This right here is Whispers of Emrakul. It is just 2 mana, that's generic and a black, for a sorcery, with target opponent discards a card at random. That's important. And when you have Delirium online, they discard 2 cards at random instead. So Hymn to Tourach is back. Hymn to Tourach is actually one of my favorite Magic cards, literally, of all time. When I started playing, Fallen Empires came out like 2 months later, something like that. And this is probably the absolute best card in Fallen Empires, Hymn to Tourach. And this card harkens back to that one. They couldn't just reprint him because that would be too powerful. In case you've never played with discard at random effects, they are seriously like 100 times better than when they get to choose what card they discard. Discards at random are actually insane and can really screw the opponent up. This is good in the early game. You know, you play it on turn 2, they discard at random. Who knows what they're going to lose? Hopefully it's a good piece, you know. But they can't just discard a land and say, whatever, I got 5 of these in my hand. And later on in the game, it makes them discard 2 cards, which could be their whole hand. And if they are holding 3 or 4 cards in their hand, say you get this under the radar against control, and they can't counter it, then they're going to maybe have to discard two of the big pieces they've been holding on to the entire game, you know, if this card resolves. So at random, discards are incredibly powerful. I'm a little surprised that this got printed, to be honest, because Wizards has gone on record before saying how powerful and unfun random discard effects are. So thank you for printing this, Wizards, first of all. I think it's very good, and we've got a lot of good things in Standard right now that make them discard. Duress, just for the 1 mana, Transgress for 2. This also on the same spot as Transgress. We can actually put together like an almost 8-racky deck, you know, in Standard, just without the artifact that hurts. Actually, we do have an artifact that gets better if they have no cards in hand. It's the last card I just talked about. So we could see a deck like that in Standard, but even if we don't see a dedicated discard deck in Standard, we could still see this seeing play because random discard effects are just unbelievably powerful. Well, let's finish it up though. Last card of the day. This is Grapple with the Past. It's just 2 mana, that's a generic and a green. For an instant, with put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, then you may return a creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Well, the best thing about this is that it's instant speed. Like, this is instant speed. This is usually a sorcery speed effect. So that's actually pretty awesome and could really, really work well in all the Delirium decks that are going around, you know. Do note that you dump the 3 cards into your graveyard, and then you can choose any creature or land. It doesn't have to be any of the ones that went to the graveyard from your, you know, this card. So, you know, I actually think that the card might see some play in these Delirium decks. I like it about as much or maybe slightly more than Vessel of Nascency. Probably a little bit more than Vessel, mostly because of the instant speed. I think the instant speed is what makes this card looks like it's pushed for Standard play. You know, if it was a sorcery, we'd all be like, no, you know, pseudo commune with the gods. It helps you get something back, sort of a kind of a regrow mixed with a commune. You know, there's lots of good things about the card, but if it were sorcery speed, it wouldn't be as impressive. The fact that this is instant speed is dumb. It's actually super dumb. So like it kind of an awful lot. And do note that, like, if you have a creature with flash in your graveyard, you can get it back at instant speed, then play it and block with it or whatever you need to do. So lots of cool things about this card, and I think it might actually have some playability, especially, obviously, in the Delirium decks. That's all we've got for now. Make sure that you like the content. If you enjoyed the content, do that. Sub if you want more of it. And then go to the comments and tell me how you felt about all of these cards. Let me know where I missed things or was wrong, you know. A lot of people think that YouTubers hate when they're, you know, admonished in the comments, like, how did you miss this? No, I actually love that. I love that this is a community and we get to share ideas, and if I miss something, you guys put it in the comments section, and it all just sort of goes round and around, and it goes in this big bubble that is called the community, and we all have that information now. I love it. I like that if I miss something, you guys will let me know where I missed, and everyone reading the comments will see it too. Shared information is one of the most important parts of a community, so I like when you guys tell me what I missed. So make sure you do that, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.